And then I've done with the front three, and I will take full responsibility for this, but I've done what we said we wouldn't do right at the start of this, and I've done a Garth Crooks and shoehorn people in out of position because we've got three strikers who could all stake a claim.
Done it several times so far.
Yeah, we have.
I think this is not the first time we've done it. Hi, and welcome back to another Watch More Football. It's been another weekend of Premier League football for us to get into. My name is Cam Clark. As always, I'm here with Ryan, and we've got producer Kel there in the background as well. Gavin has his fundamental knowledge of soccer. You are watching us on Genreverse Sports, and we're part of the main Genreverse YouTube family of channels, if you like. So check out our main Genreverse YouTube channel for lots of anime content, reactions, reviews, that kind of stuff. You'll see lots of producer Kyle on there. And there's a few other bits if you're not interested in anime as well that we do from time to time on there as well. If you're interested in written content, that's like me. I am one of the writers over at lrmonline.com. Kel writes there as well from time to time. And we've got lots of movie news, game news, TV news, reviews, rumours, that sort of stuff. So check it out. But this show is focused on Premier League football. So as always, we're kind of first show of the week. We're going to be looking back at the games that have just happened, and we'll start as always with how we did in our predictions, which I already know for me is shockingly bad. Well,
I mean, we didn't record last week, which is more's a pity because across the board, apart from Rich, we had a much better week last week. Dave got, I think, the highest score anyone's got in a single week last week with 15. He got 4 correct results, 4 correct score lines. Mick had, yeah. So yeah, if we were recording 1 week ago before today, we would be saying this. Mick got 11. Cam, you got 7 last week, which I think, that's a decent enough score. This week across the board, we've been quite bad though. So Rich and Kyle top scored on 5. Cam, you got 1, following up Rich's 1
that like
from last season.
Go Team Arsenal then? Yay! Yeah, big guns.
It was a good weekend for Arsenal, it's got to be said. I got 3, Mick got 4, Dave got 2, which has somehow led Mick to the top of the table, sort of out of nowhere, really. Because he missed that half a week a few weeks ago. He was quite low down, but he's had a couple of good scores which have put him to the top of the table.
Playback.
Yeah, Dave's still second. I'm still third. It's 3 of us are on 36, and then you're just behind on 35, Cam. And then we're pulling away from the Gunners a bit, who are trailing.
Okay, so yeah, I think it was a weekend of strange results. You sometimes expect 1 or 2 of them, but there was quite a few. So even what the Arsenal Newcastle result was actually a strange result in some respects if you go by the kind of form and the recent history and stuff like that. So yeah.
I mean, I say this having only scored 3 this week, but it is one of those weekends that I often think happen when I do my predictions. I've said on more than one occasion my prediction strategies are I look at the unlikely results and where I can see an unlikely result to be as a point of difference, and then I go for all of them, and then they don't come in. And maybe a few of them came in, but not the ones that I picked this week. Yeah.
So I guess on to our team of the week. Which is quite a varied team of the week this week, because maybe those sometimes short results will get quite a lot of variety in here that's maybe not been in too much recently.
Yeah, there's some new names. I won't go through. We did do one for last week. I won't go through that tonight, but they will be added to the cumulative total when we go through that. But for this week, we've got 2 Sunderland players. Sunderland are having a really good start to the season. They beat Forest away at the weekend, and they're up in 5th at the minute. So vast improvement from a promoted team compared to recent seasons. But we've got their goalkeeper Roofs in goal. We've got Alderete, who's a centre-back as well in our back line. They kept a clean sheet. Alderete scored the goal that won the match. So, yeah, cannot say more than that because I didn't actually watch the game. And then right back we've got Yuri and Timber for Arsenal, who Arsenal were very good against Newcastle, I thought. I know they left it late to get the result, but I thought overall it was a style of play that I think we were wanting to see from them against Liverpool and against City. And Arsenal is a similarly tough game, and they turned it on, I think. Timber was a big part of that. We've got Mark Gay for Palace. I think Palace are unlucky to only have one player in the team of the week this week, but Gay gets in. He set up the first goal. Interestingly, he didn't seem to celebrate as it went in. I don't know if you saw that clip. Just as the
no, I've never seen that.
So there's a clip of just sort of the angle of the goal, and the goal is ball comes in, Gay nods it across goal, and I think it's Sarr puts it away. And as
he's
it goes
probably
in,
thinking I've just done myself at 3 points here for trying to win the championship at the end of the season.
Exactly. So everyone runs off. You know, Sarr runs off to the corner. Everyone's following him, and Gay just sort of strolls away. Doesn't even like lift his arms up or anything. So I don't know. I think people obviously read into that sort of thing, but it was an interesting.
Yeah, but it's
picture.
a bit obvious where he's going to end up, and it's
yeah. I mean, there's every chance he could end up there in January, really, considering how things are going. But we can talk about that later. And then I always chuckle when I see this guy's name. We've got El Hadj Diouf at left back. He's not his name's actually El Hadj Malik Diouf, but obviously back in the day when I was growing up, you were probably a grizzled old veteran by then. But we had a regen. Yeah, we had a player in the Premier League called El Hadj Diouf who had a bit of a reputation, as I remember.
He was a decent player, but he was mad as a box of frogs.
Is it him or Jibril Cisse who ended up buying a lordship in East Yorkshire? I can't remember. He's one of the two. I don't remember. One of the two. But anyway, El Hadj Malik Diouf. I mean, the big news over the weekend was obviously Graham Potter getting sacked Saturday morning, and Nuno was in to take the team on Monday, and they looked a lot better against Everton, and Everton are a good side, and Diouf was key in getting them their equaliser, I think. So he had a good game. I've got Declan Rice in midfield for Arsenal. Again, Arsenal I thought ran the game, and if Arsenal
I thought he ran the game. Yeah, he was. I thought he was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah,
and we've got a good midfield. I thought he was the difference in how Arsenal can actually control the midfield against us for once, which they don't normally do. I thought he was the key.
Yeah, I think having Rice and Zubimendi at the base of the midfield, they're both defensive midfielders, but they can both get forward if they like. And then you put Eze in front of them, and it does offer you a lot of flexibility. Whereas at City last week, obviously they played Marino in there alongside Rice and Zubimendi, and it's a bit too conservative. But I think that
I think we controlled Eze. I don't think Eze was much a threat at all against us and didn't do much. It was the overlapping.
But I guess it's
breaking from that 6 into the 8 role kind of thing that was hurtful.
And
it was more when Marino come on for Eze. I think it was when he scored the goal. But
I guess it's fine. You might keep Eze quiet, but the resource you're spending on keeping Eze quiet, Rice or Zubimendi can exploit that, can't they? So
potentially, yeah, you could be right, absolutely.
And then alongside Rice, we've got Sean Longstaff for Leeds, who he's a decent player for that sort of side.
Assist and a goal. They drew 2-2 with Bournemouth,
and Bournemouth are a good side, so that's an impressive result for them. And again, Sunderland, they're having a real go of it this season. I don't think they've been as good as Sunderland, but they are definitely having a good go. They're up in 12th at the minute. So,
hopefully, the ones that you think, you just can't see it as Burnley, but you think those two are in a fight at the moment. It might change in a few months' time, but for right now, fighting for their place.
And what it is, I mean, part of it is they've got those sorts of grounds that can be a bit intimidating. I guess unless you're a Newcastle fan going to the stadium alike, then you get the red carpet rolled out. But they're both sides that, like the old promoted sides that we'd see a few years ago that would stay up and sort of disrupt things, they just make it difficult to play against them. And that's what you've got to do. You can't be easy to play against. You've got to be annoying, haven't you? That's the only way you're going to stay up as a promoted side.
Leeds and Sunderland, big teams. Big teams that probably should be in the Premier League, bigger than some teams that are in the Premier League currently, if you look at it historically. So, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got Emiliano Buendia at the number 10 spot for Aston Villa. So, Villa got their first win of the season. Yeah, they got the first win of the season. Buendia came off the bench when I think Villa was still chasing the game. He got a goal and assist. So, yeah, he's in. It's interesting that Villa have got their first win of the season because it was looking a bit, there was whispers about time running out for Emery in the last couple of weeks, I think, and maybe he's just sort of quieting that down for the time being. Who was that? That was against Fulham as well.
Yeah, I mean,
and Fulham went ahead quite early.
We'll talk about that in the next episode, but I don't think he's under too much pressure at the moment, Emery.
And then I've done with the front three, and I will take full responsibility for this, but I've done what we said we wouldn't do right at the start of this, and I've done a Garth Crooks and shoehorn people in out of position because we've got three strikers who could all stake a claim.
Done it several times so far.
Yeah, we have.
I think this is not the first time we've done it.
There's been worse examples for sure, but we've got three strikers who all staked a decent claim over the weekend. So we've got Igor Thiago, who scored twice within like 20 minutes against United to put Brentford in control of that match, and we can go, we can do that post-mortem later on. We've got Danny Welbeck, who got a couple for Brighton as they beat Chelsea, and then Erling Haaland. City dismantled Burnley 5-1. Erling Haaland got 2 goals and an assist. And although I have quite a high bar for putting Haaland in the team, I don't think you can really argue with that.
No, it has to score 5 to get in or 2.
Well, it's just
other players get one off their backside and get in.
Yeah.
Well, I sometimes fight for him to get pushed in because I don't think you're biased. So he's got that going for him.
It's not biased. It's not biased, but I personally consider that the team of the week should be for exceptional performances, and I think if Haaland's doing it every week, that in itself is exceptional. But him knocking 2 past Burnley on a normal day is not noteworthy, I don't think. But we'll give him it.
But it depends who else has done which in the league, etc. Anyway, the first game, we'll look if we go in kind of the order as they kind of ran through. Brentford obviously did beat yourselves, so I mean, we both probably watched that game. But how did you find it?
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I've been mentally checked out of United this season already since the Grimsby game. It's just I saw everything I needed to see in that game that this is how the season is going to go. It's going to be another one of those. So even the Chelsea game last week, which obviously we didn't get the chance to speak about, I wasn't massively enthused by that because the game got handed to us by the early red card and then Maresca making an overcorrection with his substitutions. We've got to say he made some mistakes.
I felt it was like a stay execution for you last week.
And although
Chelsea did you a big favour,
and we did well to pile the pressure on and go into a 2-0 lead, and then we let them back in the game. And obviously Casemiro's red card made it a bit nervy as well. But it didn't really move the needle that much for me, that game. And then you go into Brentford, and what frustrates me is Brentford are still all right. They can still bloody a team's nose, but they're not as good as they were under Thomas Frank. They've lost a lot of their best players, including one of them to us in Brian Mbeumo. And a lot has been made of, United haven't won 2 games in a row under Amorim. I mean, you can actually go back even further to, the back end of Ten Hag's season. I think there were 2 league games that we won just before the FA Cup when the season was already dead. but that's it. And that, that's from the season before last. And we just started on our heels. I missed the start of the game, but I was listening to it on the radio, and it just sounded sloppy as anything. And then obviously 5 minutes in, ball goes over the top, Brentford score. But it's just the lack of preparation for a game like that when you've got a clear week, you've got a team who are not having a good time of it either this season. You've had a win over one of your rivals. There is no reason to not be right at it from the start. And it's something as daft as from the kickoff. We had this whole kickoff routine where everyone lines up on the left. You play it back to Altai. Altai boots it up to try and put pressure on, like a lot of teams are doing at the minute, like, trying to win field position like you would in rugby. And it just gets executed so poorly that it ends up with Brentford winning the header and going up the field and having a shot after about 30 seconds. And it's like you've got such a pre-rehearsed move in literally the only state of the game where you know exactly where everyone's going to be, and you can't even pull that off. I've been saying all season, it's not about the back three, it's not about the tactics, it's not even about who the players are or who the manager is. It is just there is something fundamentally wrong, and has been for a good 5-6 years now, where we just look like the least prepared team for any situation. We don't look like we can look at another team, analyze them, and say this is how we can get at them. We don't look like we can look at our front line that we've just spent £200 million on and go, this is how we're going to get the ball to you and create chances. It's just, we hope that Mbumo's going to beat him, and we hope that Cunha's going to get a shot off.
You brought in a style manager, who's like, no, I'm going to play my way, and my way will beat them. They should adapt to us rather than we adapt to them, because I've got my style of football. That's what you brought in. You brought in somebody who kind of told you he was going to do that right from the start.
And that's what I want, and that's what I need, and that's what we needed. But you still have got to know what the other team is going to do. But it's equally, he's a style manager, but what's his style? What's his style? Everyone goes, oh, he shouldn't be playing a back three. That's irrelevant. It's about what is he actually coaching to say, here's how we're going to get the ball from the back three up to the strikers to create a good chance. And that just isn't there. And he's been here nearly a year now. And that's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter. He could play 4-4-2 and it still wouldn't look any better.
Anything he's done.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I don't like the way he doesn't look, and he puts his head down and he looks defeated during the game. I just don't think he was the right choice. I think he's a manager, and I think it's just a matter of time before he's gone. I think he was an ambitious choice at the time. I was, I'll make no secret of the fact I was quite excited by the idea of it at the time, because it was, at that time, I thought United were at the lowest they were going to be, and then they've gone out and got mid-season one of the sort of most highly rated young managers in Europe from a title-winning season, when it had already been assumed that he'd be taken over from Pep in the next 18 months, and we just went, nah, fuck it, we're having him first. That was quite exciting. One of the most highly rated young managers in Europe at that point.
Well, yeah, but that is the story of Man United over the last 12 years. That's the story of Man United over the last 12 years, isn't it? But it looked, he obviously made a point of saying quite often last season that he wanted to finish the season off with Sporting and come in fresh this summer. And I think what's happened is everything was so toxic last season that he very quickly realised that it was a bigger job than he was really up to. And I think he gave up on things last season a little bit, and he hasn't looked like he actually wants to be there. He doesn't look like he's enjoying managing Man United, and you know what? Why would you at the minute? It just doesn't look like he wants to be there. But he's made multiple sort of offers in press conferences. Oh well, I might just walk because it's obviously untenable. He hasn't actually done it because he knows there's a lot of money coming his way. But also, like you say, his reputation's in tatters. So if he does walk and foregoes all that payoff money, he's not necessarily going to find another job anywhere near that level anytime soon.
When they sack Jose Mourinho in 5 weeks' time or something.
Yeah, but
maybe by the end
I don't know.
of the season.
Like I said, I've been checked out since Grimsby. I've known that he wasn't going to see out the season since Grimsby. It is just a matter of when, and I hope that the when is a bit like West Ham with Nuno. I hope that the when is that we're trying to get the replacement sorted, so that there's no sort of big period of speculation and no big delay in the new guy coming. I've got a feeling it is going to come down to the numbers, because he's still in the first year of his contract, so his compensation is going to be quite high. Are we going to write it off till November when he's been in post for a year and then it's a lot cheaper to get rid? But how much damage is going to be done by then? Because we've got Liverpool to play after the international break. We've got Spurs to play. There's a couple of games there that can be some quite damaging results. And meanwhile, we're still 14th, 15th.
You could pull off a result this weekend and then it keeps them going for a little bit longer. You need to beat Sunderland. I think Rich was right in some sense that if Sunderland beat you, I think that could be time, because it's at your place. So you should be because Sunderland, a promoted team.
I mean, the one common thread throughout Amorim is he's beaten teams who aren't Premier League teams, and he's beaten teams that have gone down to 10 men. That's the only wins that he's had, basically. And I think maybe he got a win in normal circumstances against Everton and City, but normally it's he needs to be playing a team that aren't a Premier League team,
anyway,
or have gone down to 10 men. And I just I think it's a matter of what if.
I think so. Brighton and Chelsea, I think Maresca's under a little bit of pressure at the moment. So we're not certainly nowhere near as much as Amorim is, because he's got the Club World Cup victory behind him that's kind of propping up at the moment. It hasn't been a great start to the season for Chelsea. Of course, you could look at the discipline issues, another red card possibly costing them. And they looked dominant in the game up until that point again. So, you kind of wondering, would Brighton have beat them if there hadn't been a red card? I don't know. But, it must be a concern to them that they're just not looking quite as good as they did in the Club World Cup, for example.
I don't know. So they've won 2, they've drawn 2, they've lost 2. There's been a couple of results that they were sort of, I think, unlucky to be on the wrong side of. A couple of results that they were lucky to be on the right side of. I don't think they're necessarily having a bad season, but we were expecting them to kick on a bit because of how good they were in the Club World Cup.
I think so.
I think we weren't necessarily expecting them to trouble the title race, but I think we were trying. We were thinking they were going to cement themselves as that 4th place team.
Well, I'll give you one more that I don't get. For me, they actively made themselves worse by replacing Madueke with Gittins. I think Gittins maybe have a future as a player, but I don't think he's quite Premier League ready yet. He needs another year in the cooker.
Yeah.
And you saw injured now had been great for Arsenal.
I saw quite a few people who know about Dortmund say that Gittins isn't he's got limitations. I think he's one of those players where he's young and he's fearless and he's rapid, so he can look quite impressive if you look at his YouTube highlights. But actually, is there that much substance to his game? And we haven't seen it at Chelsea so far, I don't think.
Not so far anyway.
But I mean, the issue is obviously
because we're not scouts. But
the issue is obviously they've got this strategy of they're buying young players and the ones that are good enough will stay in the team, but most of them, I think, they're destined to be sold for a higher profit. They spent £55 million on him. Nobody is going to come in 12 months' time with £70 million for him, the way he's looking at the minute. So it's an interesting one, I think.
You never know the way they keep gambling in the market, getting up, and it does. But I guess we'll see what happens with that. But I think it's the defensive problems that's maybe cost them a little bit more than up front this year. So far, discipline as well, but I think if Dave was here, he would probably be moaning maybe that they needed to strengthen in the defensive area. Well,
I think really. Dave's position, because he's been questioned on this in our group chat a bit. Dave's position is that in an ideal world, you've got Colwill and Fofana as your first choice too, The issue is Fofana more so than Cole will, but neither of them can stay fit. But even then, I think Cole will, for all he's good on the ball and playing out, he's got a mistake in him, especially defensively, especially on the break. I always feel he's got a mistake in him.
I think it was Rich that said they're just not a world-class centre-back pair among them, compared to like maybe if you look at the three teams above them.
Yeah,
and
they need that,
and that's what you have to do if you're Chelsea.
They don't necessarily need that old head, but they need an experience. You know, they need a Virgil van Dijk there who's just got that presence about him and can just sort of rally the younger players together.
I don't think they'll do it though. I don't think they'll do it because it doesn't make financial sense, and I just think
we were saying this last season about the goalkeeper as well, and he's maybe clawed back a bit of his reputation, but he's still not. He's not a title-winning goalkeeper. But it's whether it's Chelsea's ambition to win the title or just be a really profitable football club.
I still think they'll make fourth. I'm going to be honest, because I don't think there's anybody else that's better. Plus, Palmer's at the moment, so once Palmer comes back, he'll add several points just for himself. What
I would say, it's lovely to see. I've had one eye on their game against Benfica in the first half, and Alejandro Garnacho has looked quite good. So lovely to see that. It's a shame it's for Chelsea, but I am glad that he's having a good time.
So the other kind of two games we were going to briefly mention, obviously Crystal Palace remain the only unbeaten team in the league because they went out and beat Liverpool and gave them their first loss of points this season. And I would say we were all watching. I don't know if you were watching. Did you watch the game?
No.
We were all watching it and kind of discussing it as it happened, and I think we all felt that Crystal Palace deserved 3 points. When Liverpool did get their equaliser, it kind of felt like, they've snatched another point here, and I don't think they deserve it. And then the fact that Palace got one in stoppage time, and although I've not seen this interview, I'm told that Arne Slot complained about the stoppage time, which is just ironic.
It's funny, isn't it?
I mean, I did after all the way he's been reacting in previous games when it's went for him.
Yeah, I did pay quite close attention to the highlights, and I mean, Palace should have been 3 or 4 up in the first half, from what I saw.
Should have been
Alisson kept them in it. They created some really, really good chances, didn't they, Palace? And it's it goes back to what I was saying about United. Is Palace with much less resources, playing a similar system, but again, the system's not the issue. But Palace know when they get the ball, how they're going to get it into the box and get a shot away. And, it's not the same move every time, but they know that you're going to win the ball, you're going to lay it off to him, you're going to make that run, we're going to get a shot off. There was a stat that they went through on Match of the Day, I think it was, that they were getting a shot off every 11 passes, which it just... You do that because everybody knows their jobs and they're doing their jobs. And Glasner's done a great job in getting that done because there's a lot of players in that Palace side still who just seem like bang average jobbing Premier League players. Like Will Hughes has turned into a brilliant midfielder under Glasner when he was just sort of an all right squad player before, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's limited. I think Glasner gets the best out of players, by getting them what's good. I think an Eddie Howe-like manager is like, I'll get the best out of you, even if you're not a premium player. I'll make you good in my system, kind of thing. Yeah, which takes a bit of time. It took him a little bit of time to kind of Glasner to get things going at first. It didn't go that well for him at Palace, but certainly didn't take him as long as
he came in mid-season, didn't he?
With a superior... Yes, he did,
He came in mid-season, and I think sort of they ended that season quite strongly, and I think it's just he sort of got it to basics. He made them difficult to beat. But then last season, when you were expecting them to kick on, they did start really slowly while he was really trying to bed things in properly, but you're seeing the fruits of it now. And I guess the difference between him and Amorim, because Amorim's only had a year on the job, is that you just don't see what's being built towards at the minute. Whereas you know exactly what Glasner's trying to do, and you don't, you don't see that with United.
So let's talk about kind of Arsenal then, because I think I'm a Newcastle fan, so I could spend a lot of time talking about Newcastle. But I think this game where Arsenal beat Newcastle was more important for Arsenal than it was Newcastle as a defeat. So I think we need to focus on Arsenal more, because it's the kind of game, going away and picking up points at St James's Park has not been easy for Arsenal in a number of years. It's been a bit of a bogey ground to go to and get anything. Even when they play well, they don't seem to come away with any points. And they played well, got a bit of adversity, if you like, and ended up 1-0 down fairly, I would argue. But it's not as if we were playing terribly either. So at one point I thought, well, we're going to snatch another 1-0 win, but they come back and they won the game 2-1. And I could argue a couple of decisions here and there, but I think more importantly that is that Arsenal, if I'm honest, over the course of the 90 minutes, the chances they created, they were a better team and they kind of deserved to pick up the 3 points. I don't think any of the other stuff really matters much, and it's not worth getting into penalties that were.
I think there were poor refereeing decisions that benefited and went against both sides, to be honest. I think first half Arsenal played with the sort of freedom and the sort of creativity that you think they should be able to this season. And Newcastle, when they took the lead, it was against the run of play, I thought. But then you just thought, they've played really well. They haven't really looked like scoring. And then Newcastle are going to sit on this lead. And it's like, is it going to peter out again? Are they just going to be chucking a kitchen sink at a brick wall? And then I guess something that, maybe goes in Arsenal's favour in terms of a title challenge down the line is that they were able to change it up. Like we said earlier in the Team of the Week section, they were able to bring on Marino and maybe go a bit more direct. So I guess that stands them in good stead.
He was a bit lucky with his header, right enough. It was one of those, he's flicking it back. It could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
mean?
But
it's just, they were able to...
But,
it's been really built up, this fixture, away to Newcastle because of the sort of needle that's been in it in previous ones, and it's the blood and thunder, and it's coming off maybe underwhelming results against Liverpool and City, and this is their next big game. And they were underwhelming against United. They came away with the win, but they weren't brilliant against United either.
And it was especially important because the results this weekend going into as well, Liverpool getting beat,
and that's something that didn't happen last season. Liverpool didn't drop points very often, but whenever they did, Arsenal never capitalised on it, I don't think. So that was a big one for them as well, because obviously Liverpool had played before.
Because you predicted Arsenal would win.
I predicted Arsenal. I mean,
still think they'll win it.
Before this weekend, I thought no, because they weren't willing to follow through in the way that I thought they needed to against Liverpool and against City. I think it is a statement win. I know Newcastle aren't having a great season far themselves, but it is if you take just the context of that fixture on its own, it's a big game, it's a difficult game, and they dealt with setbacks and they pushed through and they managed to change the way they did it to be able to get through, and that will stand them in good stead, especially if because we've been saying all season, although Liverpool have been really good in attack and they keep pulling it out the bag, they can be got at. Konate is not having a good season this season. They've lost their backup Leone for the season as well, so they're going to have to struggle through to January with two centre backs who are not in great form, and the fullbacks, there's issues there as well. So if other teams can get at them in the way that Palace did, it suddenly becomes a bit interesting, I think. Yeah.
I guess we're just going to have to see how it goes, but it does leave us a kind of interesting foot going into the next few weeks. It doesn't have, nothing seems as certain. The table is an unusual shape, so it's always a nice place to be, and things will settle down by the time we get to Christmas. But there's a lot of football between now and then.
There is.
We'll wrap up there. We will be back, and for anybody wondering, Newcastle, why am I not talking about Newcastle? I think I'll be more looking at them in our next episode when we're covering, kind of looking ahead a little bit more at them. So there's nothing much more to say about them at the moment, other than that. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, folks. Remember to give us a like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. That would be really good. And remember, Genreverse YouTube channel is out there as well, and lrmonline.com as well. Thanks very much for watching it, and we'll see you in our next episode. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.